The power of detachment. What the Buddha really taught about attachment. What if the very thing you're holding on to is the reason you can't find peace? Most people believe attachment is a sign of love. We hold tightly to people, to success, to our identity, to the life we imagined for ourselves, because we fear that if we let go, we'll lose everything that matters. But more than 2,500 years ago, the Buddha offered a radically different perspective. He taught that attachment isn't what makes us suffer because we lose things. It makes us suffer because, deep down, we expect them to last forever. Imagine holding a beautiful butterfly in your hands. At first, you're afraid it might fly away, so you close your fingers a little tighter, then tighter still, until the very thing you wanted to protect can no longer breathe. This is how attachment quietly enters our lives, not through hatred, not through anger, but through fear. The fear of losing what we love. One day, a grieving mother named Kisa Gotami came to the Buddha carrying the lifeless body of her only child. Heartbroken, she begged him to bring her son back to life. Instead of refusing her, the Buddha gave her a simple task. He asked her to bring him a single mustard seed from a home that had never experienced loss. Certain she would succeed, she went from house to house. Every family gladly offered a mustard seed, but every home carried the same story. A father who had passed away, a daughter who had been lost, a husband, a wife, a friend. For the first time, she realized something that connects every human life. Loss is not a punishment. It is part of being alive. And perhaps our deepest suffering doesn't begin when life changes. It begins the moment we believe that it never should have changed at all. As Kisa Gotami walked back to the Buddha, she was no longer carrying only the weight of her child. She was carrying a new understanding. Every door she had knocked on revealed the same truth. No family had escaped loss. No life had remained untouched by change. And in that moment, her grief began to transform into wisdom. The Buddha wasn't asking her to stop loving her son. He wasn't telling her to suppress her emotions. He was showing her something far deeper. The real source of suffering isn't love, it's attachment. Many people confuse these two ideas, but according to the Buddha, they are not the same. Love allows someone to grow. Attachment tries to possess them. Love appreciates the present moment. Attachment demands that the moment never end. Love says, "I'm grateful you're here." Attachment whispers, "I can't live without you." This doesn't apply only to people. We become attached to careers, to money, to success, to our reputation, even to the version of ourselves we used to be. We spend years trying to hold on to things that were never meant to stay the same. And when life inevitably changes, we don't just lose what we had. We lose the identity we built around it. That is why detachment isn't about giving everything up. It isn't about becoming cold or emotionally distant. The Buddha's teaching was never about caring less. It was about clinging less. Because when we stop trying to possess what was always temporary, we finally discover the freedom to fully experience it. And that simple shift changes the way we live, the way we love, and the way we face every ending. If attachment creates suffering, why do we hold on so tightly? The Buddha believed the answer lies within the human mind. We naturally crave certainty. We want the people we love to stay. We want success to last. We want happiness to become permanent. But life has never made that promise. Everything changes. Every relationship evolves. Every achievement fades. Every emotion rises and eventually passes. Yet our minds keep resisting this reality. Modern psychology offers a remarkably similar insight. Researchers have found that the brain is wired to seek familiarity, even when that familiarity causes pain. Sometimes people stay in unhealthy relationships, not because they're happy, but because the unknown feels more frightening than the familiar. Others spend years replaying old mistakes, reliving conversations that can never be changed, or chasing a version of themselves that no longer exists. The event itself may have ended long ago, but the mind keeps holding on. The Buddha observed this more than 2,500 years before neuroscience could explain it. He saw that suffering often doesn't come from the moment itself. It comes from the stories we continue telling ourselves about that moment. Every time we say, "This shouldn't have happened," "I can't move on," "Things must go back to the way they were," we tighten our grip, and the tighter we cling, the heavier life begins to feel. Perhaps freedom isn't found by controlling life. Perhaps it begins the moment we stop demanding that life remain exactly as it was. Because peace does not come from making the world permanent. It comes from learning how to flow with its constant change. So how do we practice detachment without becoming indifferent? The Buddha's answer was surprisingly simple. Don't stop loving. Stop trying to own. Imagine standing beside a beautiful sunset. You admire its colors. You feel grateful for the moment. But you don't demand that the sun remain in the sky forever. You know it will set. And because you know it is temporary, you appreciate it even more. The Buddha taught us to live in the same way. Love people deeply, celebrate success, enjoy life's beautiful moments. But remember, they were never yours to possess. They were gifts to experience. This is where mindfulness becomes so powerful. Instead of chasing yesterday, bring your attention back to this breath. Instead of fearing tomorrow, fully experience today. When a joyful moment arrives, be present. When a painful moment arrives, be present then too, because both will pass. Detachment is not about pushing emotions away. It is about allowing them to come, allowing them to stay for a while, and allowing them to leave naturally, like clouds drifting across the sky. You don't chase them. You don't hold them back. You simply watch them pass. The more we practice this, the lighter our hearts become, not because life becomes easier, but because we stop carrying the impossible burden of trying to control what was never ours to control. And in that quiet surrender, we begin to discover something extraordinary, a freedom that no circumstance can take away. Perhaps this is the greatest misunderstanding about detachment. People think it means giving up on life, but the Buddha taught the exact opposite. Detachment isn't the absence of love, it's the absence of fear. When you no longer fear losing everything, you finally become free to truly appreciate everything. Think about the people you love most. One day, every conversation will become a memory. Every embrace will become a moment in the past. Not because life is unfair, but because change has always been the nature of life. The question isn't whether things will change. They will. The real question is, will you spend your life resisting that truth, or learning to live peacefully with it? The Buddha reminds us that freedom doesn't come from controlling the future. It comes from changing our relationship with the present, to hold gently instead of tightly, to love without possessing, to welcome each moment without demanding that it last forever. Because when we stop clinging to what must eventually change, something remarkable happens. Fear begins to lose its power. Gratitude becomes deeper. love becomes lighter, and peace no longer depends on perfect circumstances. So today, ask yourself one simple question. What am I holding on to that was never meant to belong to me? You don't have to find the answer right away. Simply notice your grip. Because sometimes, the most powerful step toward freedom is not taking hold of something new. It's finally having the courage to let go. If this story helped you see life from a new perspective, subscribe for more timeless wisdom, where ancient teachings continue to illuminate the challenges of modern life.